Hogwarts Legacy is out, and the reviews are out. And of course, predictably, every single review, though they lean positive, has to make some type of disclaimer about the fact that they understand that J.K. Rowling is very, very bad, and she's a very bad person. But it's not just that, ladies and gentlemen. Now, if you choose to stream this game, some weirdo on Twitter has made a list that you can put people on so that you can combat the transphobic streamers that dare to play this game.
Can I make a minor disclaimer? It might not have to do a lot with that, list or whatever. So for my boys, my girls, my gamers in chat. So I'm always very wary of any review that comes out before the game, because typically the
early advanced copies.
But the deal with the early advanced copies is usually that you can only give me a minimum score. You can't give me any less than X. And it's usually like you can't give me anything less than a 9 out of 10.
I remember they were doing that with Cyberpunk when it came out, and they didn't explain that it wasn't supposed to be played on PS4.
Dude, it was Cyberpunk, Assassin's Creed. There's.
But you don't know that for sure, right? Is that industry standard?
It's pretty from the big gazillionaire companies. When they give away advanced copies, it's specifically like you can only review this game before the deadline if you give us a 9 out of 10. I know Ubisoft did that.
They're at like 75% right now, right? Like three-quarters ish.
And the NDAs are up. Like, look, this is like the same thing happens in film.
But IGN is famous for that.
The later that, like in movies, the later they push a review, the more the worse it usually is. Because theoretically, if you don't let people release their reviews until 2 days before the movie comes out, it's because you want to hide the fact that there's bad reviews right up until the moment the movie comes out. Hopefully, people won't see them. Right?
Okay.
But in this, it says, introducing. So this is from someone on Twitter. It says, introducing, have they streamed thatwizardgame.com? Find out if anyone you follow on Twitch has streamed that new wizard game. They're literally giving the game the Voldemort treatment. The game that must not be named.
This is created by Sam Gibbs.
Yep.
This is some random web developer with pronouns in bio on Twitter.
I love the first response just says, you have issues.
One of the responses was from a Twitch streamer who said, while I totally understand wanting to protect your space, I'm sure it wasn't your intent. But this website and clearly the comments here target streamers. Just seems like a tool that will be used to harass others.
Absolutely.
How is that productive? No response as usual.
It's not supposed to be productive. It's supposed to scare you.
Yeah, and harassment, of course, is the point of making a watch list like this. Yeah. I don't know what other explanation there could be.
The Game Hub review of it says, Hogwarts Legacy does not deserve to be reviewed on its own merits. And you can imagine why. It is because, oh, by the way, the person who reviewed it is trans and did play the game because they got a review copy of it. So they get to play it and tell you that you shouldn't play it.
One person said, people in these comments are so mad. If you're allowed to buy the game and play it in spite of trans, black, and Jewish people, why can't I unfollow or block you for that? You are very powerful for this, at Sam Gibbs. Well, they're saying that it's in spite of black and Jewish people, not just trans people, because they think that J.K. Rowling didn't write minority characters with enough nuance.
Because it wasn't the point of the book. This is my problem with every one of these people when they do this stuff. They expect like every character to get their own book within a book or their own movie within a movie. Sometimes a character is just a side character. So Dean, whatever his name is in the books, the black character that is part of Gryffindor is a side character that gets a couple of mentions in the book. He's not relevant enough to give him 9,000 pages of fully fleshed out dialogue and story time, because that's not the purpose of this book. I also imagine there are people who, in the review that I read, was talking about how LGBTQ plus members used to look at J.K. Rowling's work as a safe haven because they felt like they didn't fit in with society. Well, guess what? not fitting in with society has existed long before the LGBTQIA plus lobby, and teenagers have felt out of place and like they didn't belong for as long as human beings have been a thing. So first of all, I take offense to the idea that you get to decide what the nuance of that book is. And second of all, I don't like the idea that, look, I bet you there's people who aren't feminists who maybe take issue with some of J.K. Rowling's feminist beliefs that can still go back and read these books. I'm not a feminist. I could absolutely still read these books and get enjoyment out of them, even if I think that some of her views are dorky and I don't agree with her.
Well, it would be one thing if her feminist ideology crept into the pages of her work, but because she wrote them in a more sane time, that didn't happen. Now they're trying to retroactively politicize her work when you just can't argue with the fact that it has mass appeal.
No, it's critical theory that they apply to all of the idea of the House Elf Liberation Front or whatever it is. The idea she didn't understand slavery and she didn't understand black hair. She didn't understand this. She didn't understand that. Like
I really object to the maker of this watch list saying, it's all in the interest of transparency, guys. You should just be able to see what every streamer has played on stream, the games that they've played. Why are they so against transparency and honesty?
Such a lie.
When these people in a context where it doesn't suit them will never advocate for transparency. And it's funny because I have a Free the Code mug on the show today. Transparency only befits them in certain circumstances.
Mm-hmm. No, but like, what are they gonna do with that information?
They're gonna harass people.
Cool. By the way, for the record, I'm gonna play the game. What are you gonna do about it?
I mean, that is the genuine question.
Yeah,
but what are you gonna do about it?
You're not the target audience. So it's the people that aren't so self-assured that they're trying to silence.
But like, what are you gonna do about it?
The critic articles so far,
I don't get it.
I feel are low-key trying to humble brag about getting the early review codes in their emails.
Yeah.
Like they're like, I have gotten an email with early access to Hogwarts Legacy, and I've been having a moral dilemma about it for weeks, and no one understands how hard it is to be me, a special clouded member of the critic consultant class.
To be fair, giving like advanced copies to people hate you is a giga chad.
It's insane.
It's
well,
a
you
super
can't
chad
avoid
move.
it. All of these game reviewers are biased.
I don't know
in one direction. There are no reviewers that are not.
I don't know what it is about 2023, but everyone is just masks off this year.
I'm not.
Like, well, Brett isn't. You'll never know the true Brett. But the thing is, so I guess that the keyboard social justice warriors have just proved that, wow, you guys have nothing to do with your lives, don't you? You're going to make a website tattletaling about if someone played a children's literature inspired video game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's your super move of the du jour. And all the bootstraps Republicans are just bootstrapping,
I found this
what's going on this
article from Engadget, I believe, by this reviewer who's explaining why she reviewed Hogwarts Legacy, because I guess she's getting backlash about it. And she said, potential players point out that the author wasn't involved in the creation of Hogwarts Legacy, and her status as the world's richest author won't change regardless of the game's success. Also, they really want to play it. I fall into that category. I'm currently 15 hours into Hogwarts Legacy and just barely scratching the surface and having an incredible time.
You know what they should do to
magic and wizards.
To pull an Uno reverse is men's rights activists should start protesting it because J.K. Rowling proves that the gender wage gap is not a thing. And then not wanting to be associated with men's rights activists, the trans activists will have to go back on their word and play the game because they don't want to be seen as pro-men's rights.
Here's the nuance that this journalist doesn't realize isn't allowed anymore. She said, these are all valid opinions. Playing Hogwarts Legacy doesn't automatically make you transphobic. Boycotting it doesn't automatically make you an ally. Supporting community members does. You're not allowed to say that anymore because according to this other critic, they are saying that if you play Hogwarts Legacy, you are actively harming trans people. This is what they said in their article. Hogwarts Legacy does not deserve to be reviewed on its own merits.
Yep.
Okay. I want to make it clear to you right now that as a transgender individual, I have no interest in the kind of fairness or objectivity when it comes to Hogwarts Legacy. I feel a moral imperative to oppose Hogwarts Legacy.
You're a video game reviewer.
Hogwarts Legacy cannot and should not be judged solely on its own merits because the end result of supporting this game financially and socially, I don't know how you socially support it, isn't simply a matter of how much you'll enjoy it or how nostalgic it might be to the experience of the world of Harry Potter. If you purchase this game, if you praise its qualities, you are making a choice that will harm the transgender community, whether you want to admit it or not.
To the point I made on...
It must be hard to have that much brain rot.
Seriously. To the point I made on my last appearance here on the show. So, progressivism is an ideology that it's kind of the forward-facing public relations identity of pretty much everyone and everything. Despite the fact that the majority of people don't personally associate with it. Given now, let's just say it's true. I might not be, but anecdotal and probably if like factual evidence would prove me that I'm wrong or that I'm right. Sorry, in that case. So, if we were to put the ideological and political leanings of all gaming developers, progressive nuts couldn't purchase anything.
Yeah.
They couldn't purchase anything because this insane woke progressivism is only performative because people don't want to get canceled by these crazy people. So if you get to the true core of people, the average man and woman or they, them and whatever, and their beliefs, they will never align with these schizo Redditors.
Yeah.
So don't buy anything. Don't buy food. Don't buy movies. Don't buy games. Don't buy a car. Don't get a house. By the way, because if you buy a Toyota in Japan, let me tell you, they got terms for you, and it's not pretty.
Yeah.
So,
I get incredibly confused that self-professed Marxists believe in the principle of voting with your dollar. only in these circumstances. Their justification is... You're buying Hogwarts Legacy. It directly enriches J.K. Rowling through royalty checks that go to her. Even if she had no involvement in the creation of the game, it does make her money that this is going to sell like gangbusters. And that's true. But you don't believe in voting with your dollar? Yeah.
Well, they don't have dollars to vote with. Do they believe in boycotting Universal?
Hey, welfare is perfectly usable money, bro.
Did they boycott Universal Studios?
There's only so many places you can take this. Like, where do you draw the boundary of voting with your dollar then?
It would also
That's
lead
what I'm
to
saying. Like, no one agrees with it.
It would also
Right.
lead
Truly.
to extremely boring content because to people like this, the only type of good media is media that's exactly about them. So there would be no actual wealth of content outside of just stuff about being trans or stuff about just being LGBTQ because they don't actually believe in other types of media.
So like we're familiar with so-called woke capitalism, right? Mm-hmm. Where they make these ad campaigns that pander to protected groups, even though those groups are completely uninterested in the product being sold to them.
Nor do they have the money to buy anything.
By the way,
I think this campaign is coming from... Like, this campaign against Hogwarts Legacy is coming from the people who actually fell for those ad campaigns.
Yeah.
Like, the people who actually believe that every billion or trillion dollar company in the world genuinely supports them through and through at all levels. The people who believe they have that institutional support from every mega corporation are claiming that you should vote with your dollar by not buying Hogwarts Legacy because they think it's the only exception. Yep. They think that this is literally the only exception of a mega corporation or billionaire that doesn't support them. Like, that's scary that they even think they have that power.
Yeah. It also shows a certain amount of delusion for most of it, because a lot of the time when you see stuff like this, it's kind of like with J.K. Rowling and Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers can make like 3 good things and 2 bad things, per capita, but you only really notice what you're focused on. So if all they care about is Harry Potter and Marvel, they don't understand that these companies are also making a bunch of stuff that they don't like. They're just not focused on it because it's not part of their sphere of influence.
Also, can I say, buying the game because, like, lol, I'm a transphobe, like, that's also lame as hell.
Oh, yeah. Do not just buy something because these people don't want you to buy it.
Yeah,
it's not going to make a difference.
I mean, there is the unintended consequence that all of this talk about Hogwarts Legacy has been the controversy around it rather than excitement about it. Mm-hmm. So you're drawing more eyes onto it that are going to see it and think, wow, this is genuinely appealing. I'm going to buy it. Like, the controversy does enrich them. So all of these hit pieces are still playing into J.K. Rowling's hands. Mm-hmm. If you hate her so much, stop whining about it.
Also,
well, shouldn't we be doing the same thing? Like when we talk about
we clearly don't have a dog in this fight. Are any of us? Dane, are you going to buy Hogwarts Legacy?
Dude, I like Harry Potter. I read the books. I watched the movies.
I'm saying that
you're gonna buy it.
Yeah, I want to play the game.
There you go. Like.
Yeah.
You're going to buy it, but like we don't have a dog in this fight because we're not buying it solely to have points in a certain side of the culture war. Like it doesn't matter that much.
Would we have been better off in the previous topic? Are we better off just not talking about Sam Smith if we don't have a dog?
By the way, I would have bought the game had J.K. Rowling says, 6 foot pale Puerto Rican guys are kind of terrible.
I'm not saying that we shouldn't talk about it. I'm saying we shouldn't make our purchasing decisions based on, winning sides in the culture war when you're either enriching all of the media companies that employ these awful critics or you're enriching J.K. Rowling. Yeah. And it's like none of them need your help. Yeah. They're doing just fine without you.
Yeah, I don't know. It's to me, it's one of those things where for J.K. Rowling, she wins either way. Warner Brothers Interactive or whatever it is wins either way. All of these companies win either way, and these same people who I guess it's Black History Month right now, but in June they will then fall once again for all the marketing campaigns because all the logos, except for the ones in Saudi Arabia, change colors.
You know what's funny too?
What is funny too?
All of these reviewers have reported that Hogwarts Legacy developers tried even harder to insert inclusive options into the game because of this elephant in the room that J.K. Rowling is transphobic. Like they've added the ability to make your character trans to combat the idea that this game is transphobic. And it's still not working. So the fact that they even made that concession, I find detestable.
Buy the game if you want to play it, and that should be the only reason you should buy the game. You should not be buying it to own the libs, and you should not be buying it to own the.
If you think you're owning the libs by buying it, don't buy it. But
dork.
If buying Hogwarts Legacy did own the libs, I would be telling you to do it. But it doesn't. That's the thing.
At least I will always encourage people to start separating politics from culture.
If we had to like not watch everything made by somebody who didn't necessarily like us,
what movie could we watch? There
would be nothing to watch. I can like art even if I don't like the person who made it. Like I can do that. That's not a problem for me.
We have to do that.
There
are other people.
We're forced to. Yeah, we're forced to because we hold a belief system for the most part that is outside of the social norm now. So you're constantly, and I think to our benefit. I think in a lot of ways that allows us to stick up for what we believe in. It helps us get away from groupthink in a lot of ways, right? Take that, stink bug. It forces us to kind of move away from just agreeing with somebody just to agree with somebody, right? Like I've got people who send me messages like that I grew up with who think that the way I see the world is abhorrent, yet they don't know how I see the world, right? They just know what I choose to talk about and a sprinkling of like some of my views on stuff like this. But I don't feel like I'm that much of a different person from who I was 10 years ago. It's just that the Overton window has shifted so far that now people are so on guard about their beliefs in what they watch. And media is such an important part of our lives now. We live most of our lives in front of screens. Like if I had to not watch a movie, or like I was watching Fringe recently, and Joshua Jackson is just a insane liberal, like almost like an elitist liberal in his tone, the way he talks about people, and I can still love it. I can still love watching that show knowing that. And I think that's a power to us, right? Like, he's not like, am I putting money in his pocket by watching it? Well, I mean, I'm not rebuying the DVD, so I'm not putting money back in his pocket that way.
Well, I think that the difference is artists used to be at the mercy of rich people who commissioned them, who did have generally more conservative beliefs. Like, I don't know. I don't think that
you had your patron.
Michelangelo was all that, conservative or religious of a guy, but people who commissioned religious art generally were the people in positions of power. Yeah. And then that power is shifted. I think that terrible things are in store for Harry Potter as a franchise after J.K. Rowling checks out after she dies.
No, actually,
it's gonna go to shit.
That might be there might be something different there because she has such control over it that she might have she clamped down and she has so much creative control that it may not be allowed to because she got that contract made.
I'd love to see a conversation between her and George Lucas.
Wouldn't that be interesting? I think she sees her property as too worthy or as too important. I don't think she'll sell in the same way.
I don't know. I mean, if your estate allows things to happen, then there's nothing you can do about that beyond the grave.
She just gives it to her cat or to
Is there any way she could stop them from making anything new? Yeah. Related to the Hogwarts universe?
It would be very interesting if she just has a nothing new can come out.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
That would be cool because it would be the first time, right?
I think that would be very cool if you just couldn't release anything new.
I mean, I already don't like what they've done with Fantastic Beasts.
Yeah.
By the way, after watching the first
they were fine.
movie, what is fruity about Dumbledore? He's not limp-wristed in any way. He's
the books are very different. He's much more flamboyant in the books.
Oh, they would have played into that way more if those movies were made today.
Here's a take that I'm never going to be able to say again. I think the Harry Potter actor looks exactly like him as he's described, but acts nothing like the character. He doesn't even have
green eyes, and he wouldn't wear green contacts.
But, I mean, at least in the cover of the original book. But the thing is, in the books, he was so much more assertive and confident and moody and angry. He was
book 4. Yeah.
No, I think book
5. Book 5, he was like that. Later on, not in the early ones.
But in the 4th and 5th movie, he wasn't really like that at all.
God, he was so annoying.
He's so monotone.
He was so annoying in the 5th book.
Do you mean the character itself?
The character itself. Shut up, dude.
I mean, he's going.
We get it. We get it. You're an angsty teenager. Bite me.
He has to kill the Antichrist.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.